Greetings, comrades. Welcome to our third installment of our virtual political classes. Tonight, we're talking about organizational renewal. Now, comrades would know that organizational renewal is a topic that we've had for over a decade now within the ANC. It's a topic that can be traced back to the 2007 Polokwane conference, where the conference had acknowledged that there is a need for renewal within the organization. And conference had adopted that there should be a period of renewal, which took place, of course, after the conference. It was again in 2010 at the National General Council, where steps were taken and were acknowledged on how do we get to that point of whereby we are fully renewed as an organization. You know, the NGC concluded that a renewal is something that must be done and it's immediate for the ANC. It was, of course, looking at the erosion of members of the ANC and how can we then change what was happening at the time and realign the ANC and its ANC policies and cadreship with the members of the ANC, and also the way that as members of the ANC will portray the organization to the greater society. Comrades would remember again in the last conference we had in Nazareth, the 2017 conference, whereby it was extensively discussed the issue of organizational renewal and how do we renew the ANC. The president, again in his Gen 8 statement, spoke about rebuilding and renewal of the African National Congress. To speak further about this matter, we have our IPC, the Interim Provincial Committee convener in the Western Cape Province, Mr. Lerumo Kalako. We got it right this time, who will be speaking to us about organizational renewal. And we encourage comrades to engage and to comment with your questions and all of that. This is a very important topic that transcends Ward 115 on its own. It's a topic that is relevant throughout the country. We have documents such as Eye of the Needle. We spoke last week about Kauleza. We have documents such as Be the Renewal. But still, regardless of us having those documents, we still have to find ourselves in discussions about organizational renewal. We still have to defend the organization up to this day of how do we correct the image that has been painted about us as this corrupt party, of which I think it's otherwise, we're not. But of course, that's a debate for another day. So without any further waste of time, I will now hand over to our convener in the Western Cape, Mr. Lerumo, Comrade Lerumo, over to you, my lead.
Thank you, Program Director. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Thank you. Greetings, comrades, and everybody who's participating in this discussion today around organizational renewal. I think this is, especially for us in the Western Cape, this is a topic which we need time and again to engage with. You'll remember, as the program director said, this is a time where in the Western Cape, we have to prepare our structures, renew, revive, relaunch all our structures so that the province goes back to its glory days. So this topic is more fitting for us in the Western Cape. But let me just start with one on another dimension. You will know that now this IPC is almost 1 year, 6 months since it was established and appointed by NSC to take the province to the conference. But our programs for that of relaunching branches were disrupted by COVID-19 pandemic, which forced us to refocus our energies on programs to fight the pandemic. So we have to gear all our structures from branch level, region, zones, up to province for this purpose. But when COVID-19 disrupted our programs, we had already adopted a roadmap as IPC, a roadmap to provincial conference, starting with Boland Regional Conference, using the new membership system. Because our mandate and instruction, which was given to us by the decision of the NSC, was that we must renew our structures based on the new membership system, nothing else. We must rebuild and relaunch our branches based on the new membership system. So now that the COVID lockdown have been relaxed a bit, where there's an allowance of meeting in few numbers, but still observing all the protocols. We must go back to that. I'm sure very soon we'll be busy dealing with BAGMs, BGMs, regional, provincial, up to provincial conference. But at the same time, we are gearing our structures for local government elections. And comrades, we know when we begin to prepare for all these things, whether it's branch annual general meetings where they are elective, whether it's branch general meetings where you have to look at your membership and make corrections, or whether it's selection of candidates for local government. We know that brings us all manners of factional problems. So, but we've just seen that in these by-elections, that ugly face of us, of factions, have started to rear its head. But so far we have been firm and will be continuing to be firm to deal with that problem. But I wanted just comrades to start on that, because this topic fits exactly to that challenge, to that instruction and obligation given to the IPC by NSC. In actually implementing our mandate, we are guided by the resolution or decision of the NWC and also terms of reference developed by the NSC and adopted by the NSC. Those terms of reference, comrades, are not only for us as leadership, as interim leadership, but it is titled Terms of Reference of the Interim Provincial Committees and members of the ANC. It means from branch upwards, all of us, those terms of reference. Let me come back to the topic. You know, comrades, why I actually start with this, because this topic deals exactly with this mandate we are given. As the program director have said, comrades, ANC, in fact, going back to 2000 policy conference in PE, where ANC began to actually notice foreign tendencies and practices creeping in the African National Congress, where the organization started to see how governance and state power corrupts, how access to resources corrupts. In that NGC in 2000, you'll remember, comrades, it was before 2007, Pulukwan. So in that NGC, we made a deep analysis of what type of organization do we want? What type of structures and design of structures that will actually fit the new conditions we are in? Because the ANC has to renew itself in order to operate under new conditions and different that are different from being a liberation movement to being both a liberation movement and also a mass political party. We have to operate in those conditions without losing the character of the ANC. In summary, we all know the character of the ANC because that it is a broad church, it's a multi-class party, it's a non-racial, non-sexist, democratic liberation movement with its goal and objective to lead, to organize, mobilize, and lead motive forces in society. And also as a registered political party that contests elections, governs, and participate as opposition to build a national democratic society. Comrades, that is why right in 2005, we knew that we are both a governing party and at the same time opposition, because Western Cape falls under DA. You are a DA opposition here. Local government up to provincial government. But you know what happened? That have actually encroached to other areas where we had power. Now you have Tshwane, you have Johannesburg, you have PE, which actually themselves, where DA is in power, where opposition there. So already our efforts and our persistence to constantly analyze, that's the key, constantly analyze, review, and renew your programs according and adapt them to new conditions. So in 2005, in that conference, in that NGC, we have already identified the problems. Therefore, we took a decision that we must continually review our organizational state and capacities and its relationship with the people and society. Very important. Very important. Otherwise, if we don't do that, we'll be, I think we lapsed a bit, we'll be in what we are today. And we said ANC must continually assess its standing in society. Meaning we must always be able to analyze and assess whether we are still the leader of society and whether we are still the vanguard of national democratic revolution. Do we have hegemony in the society, as we used to say? That NGC directed us to actually make this analysis, to review, to analyze. So since that PENGC in 2000, the matter of organizational renewal has occupied our deliberations in the context of the ANC as an agent for change. Throughout, if you remember, as a comrade program director said, in 2007, we had a heated discussions in our commissions around this issue of renewal of the organization and around defining what type of cadre ANC once, as we have decided that in PE that we need an ANC which is an agent for change. So we knew we needed a new type of cadre. So from then on, there's no conference after that NGC, 2007, even after that in Mangaung, even after that, we have been deliberating, comrades. The central theme have been our strategy and tactics and the renewal of our organization. Rebuilding and renewal. That have dominated the conference. Policies have not changed that much, comrades. This is what have occupied us. But I think, comrades, let's just briefly go into challenges which actually we identified right from PE and see what is happening today, where they have been able to address these challenges. One, we said we identify a loss of confidence in the ANC because of social distance, corruption, nepotism, arrogance, elitism, factionalism, manipulation of organizational processes, abuse of state power, putting self-interest above the people, and sins of incumbency are deeply entrenched in us. We identified these things. We went further to say we have identified and analyzed and able to see that many organizations and thinkers, thought leaders have become critics of the ANC and its leadership. And we are losing much of our influence and appeal among students, young intellectuals, and the Black middle class. We said leadership weakness and loss of integrity, characterized by competition to control state resources, factionalism, conflict, ill discipline, and disunity, and the use of state institutions to settle differences. Slates and vote buying has delivered leaders who have difficulty driving our programs or commanding respect from society and our supporters. Further, we said a lack of planning, coordination, implementation, and accountability for our work in government and achievement of our policy goals. We have serious weaknesses in achieving economic growth, overcoming education challenges, and in the effective combating, prevention, investigation and prosecution of crime and corruption. We said organizational work have focused more on mobilizing members to support specific factions or individuals with increasing negative practices like gatekeeping and buying of membership. These comrades are the challenges we identified way back in 2005. And we have continued to identify in conference after conference, policy general council after policy general council, these similar problems. But the question is, what have we done with all this? If you look into the organizational renewal and its resolutions of outcomes of the 54th conference around strengthening organizational capacity and structures, we mentioned many things there. We said our branches must work in the community. We said for purposes of proper and to be closer to people, we must create sub-branches or units. We even said we must organize around on VD basis. Embark on membership recruitment and induction. That branches of the ANC must have clear program of action. Cater development, political and continuously. Prepare for elections, election structures, and be trained. Make sure we get the alliance involved. Do several work. We constantly sharpen our understanding and development of our policy and implementation. These are the things, comrades, we actually we resolved around. Around the selection process of public reps, we have resolved that. Processes of elections of ANC leaders. How do we elect leaders? How do we manage succession? We have resolutions on that. We looked into how do we strengthen integrity of the organization. Deal with social distance, ANC credibility and integrity, dealing with corruption. These are all things, comrades. We even resolved to establish integrity commission. Also on discipline, we resolved, comrades. Even on battle of ideas, that is where we resolved to come with a policy of how do we conduct ourselves in social media? How do we as ANC members interact and fight the ideological battles in the public domain, in media, whether electronic, whether it's newspapers, whether it's the social media? We put principles there that have been adopted, in fact, by the NEC as it was mandated to develop it by the 54th conference. So, comrades, these are actually, I wanted just to remind comrades that the issue or matter of organizational renewal, we have been seized with it now for a long time. But the question is, if we look at ourselves now as the ANC, have we been successful and be able to implement all the resolutions we take to deal with the problem? Let's start on the issue of factionalism, comrades. Have we been able after all these resolutions, even after the last conference, to deal with factionalism? Is factionalism going down, or are we succeeding to defeat it, or is this strengthening? To me, comrades, we are in deep trouble because of factions and tendencies. In fact, we have tendencies, this thing of you take a section part of the resolution and policies of the ANC, you mobilize around them specifically, not for them to be implemented genuinely, but to push your agenda of factionalism. The so-called RET, Radical Economic Transformation, that is a resolution of the ANC. It cannot be that there will be elements of people who make it their, a slogan. And also it cannot be that there are those who will oppose it as if it's not the resolution of the ANC. Once both sides do that, there's something wrong with us. It means there's something else that we are fighting about. Because radical economic transformation, if you remember, comrades, before the Mangaung conference, we there decided that even in the strategy and tactics, that we are in the second phase of our national democratic revolution, which is actually characterized by radical economic transformation. So why do we fight about that? It means there's something else. Moving from that, comrades, if you look on what we're talking about, which have been identified here as challenges, the loss of confidence by people to ANC, it's because of all these things. Have we been able to deal with corruption, nepotism, the arrogance? We are arrogant, comrades. If you scan social media, sometimes you follow responses of the leadership of the ANC at different level on issues affecting people. You will see the arrogance of the ANC. Elitism, arrogance. It is arrogance of ANC comrades to think the state and taxpayers' money belongs to the ANC. Just recently, comrades, there's no reason. We sit in the NEC, we agree, we take a resolution that, in fact, it's important that it's a long decision that former liberation movements in Southern Africa, as we encounter problems in governance, let's meet and share experiences. Let's advise each other. We take a resolution that it's going to be important for ANC to meet party to party, liberation movement to liberation movement with ZANU PF. What do we do? All of a sudden, there's a trip of the government going there. All of a sudden, we are told we take a lift. What is that? Is that not arrogance? Knowing very well that is going to be questioned by political parties We are in a constitutional democracy, comrades. We are in democracy. We have a very vibrant, very much wide awake, alert parliamentary system. Why do we do that? It's arrogance. The manipulation of organizational processes. This system, new system, we are trying to deal with that. Although it's not perfect itself. That is why people have lost confidence to us. It's all because of this. Sins of incumbency, we said that in 2005, is deeply entrenched in the ANC. People of thinking, once they are in position, being put by the masses, first the thousands of the members of the ANC. After that, voted by millions of South African people into government. They begin to think that those positions are theirs. They can do as they want, and they can stay there as much as they want. So this is what comrades have made many intellectuals, especially Black intellectuals, to criticize us. We have thinkers, comrades, in this country. And I'm so happy we have young Black thinkers who actually, some of them are far advanced in understanding the new society, which today is dominated by technology. They criticize us on all of these things. And we have lost influence, comrades, among students, among young intellectuals, and the Black middle class. And you must know, essentially, ANC have, throughout its existence and its formation, survived through the solid contribution, through ideas, through policies, through research of Black intellectuals. Because we never had universities that support us as political parties, like DA have. DA, its capacity is situated in these universities. It gets it free and from big business. So, comrades, we have lost integrity, and this, comrades, is still the problem. The issue, comrades, of ANC declining quality of leadership from all levels. We know it's through slates, using of slates, buying of membership, buying of branches. And all of you, I'm sure, comrades, you have been victims of that in branches when we go to conference, where all of a sudden, the branch, you know your branch had 102, and all of a sudden it's got 500. Members which, when they are found individually, they don't know that they are ANC members. And we go to conferences thinking that we have many members, only to find out these are members who bogus membership. And people go there just to be voting cows who are bought. In fact, our conferences now are characterized by parties, Goombas, going to Cubanas, parties in restaurant, price, booze. That's what characterizes ANC conferences today. And people begin to say, is this the ANC which we entrusted with our lives? Using comrades of state institutions to settle differences. This is a disease which we have been having. It has not gone away, comrades. Let us not lie to ourselves. It has not gone away. That is why, comrades, to me, it was not, today, luckily I'm a member of MK, being a commander, commissar. We founded MKMVA, that association. But when it started to do things which we were not happy with and were not, actually it was not formed for, when it started to get involved to factional fights of the ANC, we said, no, that's not us. This is an association to look after the welfare of the ex-combatants of the ANC in particular. Hence, it's not a constitutional structure of the ANC. Hence, it has no powers whatsoever. Hence, it has no right to issue any comment on policy, standing, and issues of the ANC. Hence, we started, after deliberations with the leadership there, to constitute the National Council, MK National Council. Because these divisions have gone down to that level. Same thing, comrades, a split in the Veterans League. That's the state of the ANC. We don't have Youth League now because of this. Women's League is reviving many of its structures because of this. Which structure of the ANC is not affected? None. None. What is the problem? Because of self-interest. Because, comrades, factions are dangerous. Factions, first and foremost, irrespective of whatever factions, they serve individual interests and factional interests. They perpetuate nepotism. They perpetuate patronage. They encourage and conspire for the looting of state resources. Those are factions. They have no other objective except that. They don't care. In fact, for factions, the more the organization is weaker, the better for them. For leadership of factions, the more ANC is in disarray, the structures are not there, the more ANC structures are dominated by fraudulent election processes, membership recruiting, the better for factions to emerge as leaders. And then what does that produce? It produces the worst leadership we can ever have. When there's a lot of talent in South Africa, black and white, who are actually adhere and subscribes to the ideals of the ANC as enshrined by the Freedom Charter and the Constitution of the ANC, which we have been able to translate and transform them into the Constitution of the country. There are many of those. But because of the status of the organization, the status we are in, they have chosen to back off, instead to criticize us. That is why even in government, comrades, we have a government which lack planning, coordination, and implementation and accountability in government. And ANC itself have no capacity to make the government to account to itself as a governing party. Because of what? Because of this. The answer, comrades, must come fast. Maybe we have to change this. Maybe we have to say, Comrades, if you want to lead the ANC, tell us why. What will you do for the people of South Africa? You know, when we were training in Angola, others were trained in Uganda, others in other countries of Africa. Always in the morning when we assembled, before we went to go to training and after finishing, the instructor, whether is a physical instructor, arms instructor, will assemble there as a platoon and will take a salute. He will say, comrades, what are we fighting for? We'll all in one slogan, we are fighting for the people of South Africa. Can you say that today? No. Comrades, this is what confronting us. The weaknesses we have in government, that we are not able to achieve economic growth, overcoming educational challenges we have. We have a big problem of crime, but we're not able to have effective, programs of combating, preventing, and investigation and prosecuting crime and corruption. Because, comrades, we have killed state organs for that because of our factions. Right from after Pulukwan, we destroyed them completely. We were lucky it was only the army, to tell you the truth, which has kept itself intact, our comrades there. Both its military intelligence, its military police, its structures. All others, we even destroyed the national prosecuting agents. These are things which now we are beginning to actually restructure and regroup. It's not easy, comrades. It's not without fight. There's resistance. There's fight back. Renewal of the ANC is not going to be easy. The fight back you get in branches when you try to do right things, you get in the regions, you get in province, you get national structures, is the very same fight back you get in government structures. Renewal and rebuilding of the ANC is not going to be easy. Already we have lost many comrades because of this fight for the soul and control of the ANC. We have killed each other in all the provinces. We have bodies of our people lying there, of our own comrades, killed by others. For what? For control of the ANC branch, for control of the ANC regional leadership, in order to have your hands in the resources of the country, in order to plunder them, in order to loot them. That's what the fight is all about. So let us not, comrades, be surprised now today. Look, one example we can go into. We said that let's have an integrity commission so that all the comrades who are doing wrong things must report there. Cases, if even individual members who have complaints around those things must be reported there. Hey, comrades, I'm telling you, that integrity commission for a long time, I don't know whether the terms of reference have been finished and adopted by the NEC of that integrity commission. There have been a resistance for the past 9 to 10 years, ever since we took that resolution against Integrity Commission. In fact, they've been snubbed by the last leadership of the ANC before Nazareth. They have been called names, and it have been stalwarts. Even the emergence of, stalwarts 101 is because of these problems. They emerge to try to give assistance towards renewing the organization. But there have been resistance, comrades, against those efforts. So it's not at all, even on discipline, comrades. ANC today is unable to discipline its members because of factions. Right from national level, right from leadership level, ANC can't discipline its members because of factions. That's how destroying factions. So it is important, comrades, for us to say and to question and actually to ask questions. Is the character of the ANC still the same character of the ANC which have been left to us by O.R. Tambo's, Mandela's, Yusuf Daddo's, Joe Slovo's, Bram Fisher's, Edwin Mufsanyana, Moses Kotanes, Chris Hannis? Is it still that Govin Begis, Harry Kwalas, is still that character of the organization? Because, comrades, our failure and our resistance to analyze and acknowledge that the ANC character is gradually changing is not going. What is in documents of the ANC and resolution taken on conference after conferences and policies? Documents and books, to me, comrades, does not define the character of the ANC. Those are the ideals. What defines the character of the ANC is actions and programs and implementations by ANC, whether in government, whether in communities, whether in structures. That's what defines the character of the ANC. So organizational renewal, comrades, is not going to be an easy thing. I want just, comrades, to close by quoting one of the stalwarts and veterans of this liberation movement, who have contributed ideas, who have shaped our ideology of the National Democratic Revolution, and who have actually taught many of us. That is Comrade Ben Turok. Now, Comrade Ben Turok have this to say, I quote, "There is a pervasive sense of disappointment with the character of the ANC today. Its loss of direction and slippage from its historical mission. The mission I have always understood to be liberation of the masses from poverty, discrimination, and exploitation, and to win for them basic human rights, human dignity, and a measure of control over their lives. I write as an insider but one not so deeply embedded as to need to be defensive. This is no lament about what might have been, nor is written out of bitterness. I do not feel, as some who were participants, that my lifelong commitment was betrayed. Rather, I want to stand back and try work out what has gone wrong and why. This is Professor Ben Turok in his paper, With My Head Above the Parapet. So, comrades, I think this is what we must do as active participants. We must be able to stand out and analyze what have gone wrong. Because I fully agree with comrade, the late comrade, Ben Turok, that ANC today has lost its direction and is on a slippage from its historical mission. Thank you, comrade, program director.
Thanks very much, my leader. You've actually left no stone unturned, and you've touched base basically on everything that is affecting our organization and its renewal. I had a question that I had noted on self-interest, but you had already spoke on self-interest. But would you not say that perhaps some of our problems lay in the fact that as members of the ANC, we do not know how to keep our matters internal? In the sense that if we have fights or anything that happens within the ANC, we are the first to run to the media. We are the first to keep the media informed, but there's this happening within the ANC internally, which again, has a role that it plays in how the public then views the ANC on top of the picture that the media has already painted with regards to the ANC and how the ANC has fully fledged, I'm guessing, to become. And then another question was on self-interest, like I said earlier on, which is, would you say that the decline in cadreship and the need now more than ever for organizational renewal would be that because perhaps maybe back then, pre-1994, there was a common goal that comrades had, which was freedom. And then the ANC was simple, I'm guessing, because it was a liberation movement. But post-1994, we're seeing the ANC now becoming a political party, which now also then, that's where, the interest of comrades are now starting to arise, and we're starting to move away from being deeply connected with our respective constituencies and communities like you were back then. Would you say that also played a role in how we moved from being a liberation movement to being a political structure?
Thank you. Comrade. I think let me, starting with the first question, you are correct that today we fight our battles using media, exposing each other. In fact, today, comrades, to stretch this, there's no meeting of the NEC which is not leaked. Whilst we are sitting and deliberating, the reporters, there are reporters writing the meeting of the ANC, reporting it outside on minute-to-minute basis, hour-to-hour basis. You get that all over. It even happened to our meeting here of the IPC. Whilst we were sitting, just somebody who connected the body, that body, is part of the deliberations of our meetings, is tweeting. So that tells you one thing, Firstly, when we came, before, let me tell you, when all of us were fighting for freedom, we had common goal, common interests. Many of us, we didn't know that we will be in positions of power. We're not fighting to be ministers, to be councillors, to be officials of government, to be the police, to be generals, but maybe there were some amongst us, but the majority of the masses of our people and those who were even in the ranks of MK outside, they were not, and others in the underground, who have a common goal. But that time, I can tell you, nobody would leak and divulge internal meetings of UDF or of COSATU or of NUM or of COSAS or of, SANSCO structures at that time. Even the press, there were no leaks. Even if they wanted to actually, because at that time, media was heavily infiltrated until it was liberated by mass movement to come openly, because it was under duress and harassment by the apartheid regime. To an extent, they were actually infiltrated. We all know about Stratcom. So during those times, we were able to deal with our internal problems and issues because we had one common goal. But now, definitely amongst our ranks, there are paid agents of media, the so-called sources. And media itself have entered our conflicts to take sides of factions. And who control the media? We know the battles of ideas are at that level. Who control that is the very big monopoly capital, which constantly is fighting for the status quo to remain, is against restructuring of the economy, is against radical transformation. So the media, they use it to play and to disseminate that narrative, and also were participant to that. This actually links with your question of the decline in cadreship. Because now we are no longer having a common goal, and we are actually warned by the leadership of OR Tambo, because these people have seen the experience of other fraternal liberation movements when they went into power, and in countries all over. And we even had experiences of other countries who were our sister liberation movements in other continents, like Nicaragua. That power corrupts. And OR Tambo, when he said, let's wait, we have not yet encountered problems whilst we are still struggling to dislodge the apartheid racist government. Let's wait and see when we are in power, the problems we are going to encounter. And exactly, it's like that today. And the mistake we did, we abandoned the only weapon we had. Constant political education in our structures, which have kept ANC, whether in exile, whether in prison, and the mass democratic movement and underground structures in the country. It was a constant political education around our policies, around our goals, around our ideology, around of what do we want to do about this country. We neglected that after 1994. We can see now the results. So that we are actually, we have even, ANC actually, we have taken resolution after resolution that we remain a mass liberation movement, which is contesting power. Part of that mass liberation movement, part of its character is that we contest power. We are a political power, political party. But that actually have superseded the mass character of liberation movement, who have completely reduced in ANC into a political party. Hence, the social distance. So the decline of cadreship in the ANC is because we have lost ground and neglected the ideological teaching and education in our ranks.
This then links up with what you spoke about on leadership, and that currently we have a leadership problem. And the result of us having this leadership problem is because of factionalism, because of slates and vote buying. What then would you say is the possible solution to ensure that when you go to deployments, whether it's a AGM or it's a regional conference, provincial conference, or even a national conference, how then to ensure we get to a point in time whereby that vote buying is a thing of the past, whereby when we are deploying people, even if it's like councillor, for example, a position of councillor, we are deploying the right people which fit our documents, such as through the eye of the needle. How then to ensure that when we are electing leadership, irrespective of whatever position it might be for, but a leadership position, we are deploying the right people and money is not used as a way of influencing votes?
Look, as you say, the problem we have now is role of money in ANC processes and structures. We'll have to think, because this thing is becoming entrenched in the ANC. First, in dealing with that, we have identified this long time ago, and we said ANC must introduce a type of membership system where there will be a direct joining by individual. Not you join through a secretary filling a form for you, you sign, you take all this, you pay to him and take all those to the bank. We have been, this system thing have been there for a long time, conference after conference, in fact. We are only now beginning to grapple with it seriously. This membership system allows you to be able to join, to check your status, to renew. And through that system, when there are activities of the branch, you can be informed immediately, and you know there's no chance of sidelining others that you don't agree with. This thing of, what is this thing, printouts from regional office or provincial office, is once this system works, it's going to come to an end completely, because all that will come from the main membership system, from the national organizer. And you'll see yourself, nobody is going to be in your form. that I joined, this is my card, this is my number, is with me. You can't dispute that. It's from the national membership system. You can't say I can't be in a meeting. So we're grappling with that. That has to kill two things. Membership buying, because that system doesn't take bulk payment. If you go and buy, you take forms, collect forms, sign for people, you go and deposit 100 membership forms in FNB, they go just to their account. They won't be captured by that system. That money is lost. You have lost. So that's one element of trying to deal with gatekeeping and try to deal with the problem of money in the ANC. Secondly, ANC will have to review, ANC will have to develop methods and to assess, is it only conferences, BAGMs, whether regional, provincial, national, where you can actually produce leadership, where you can choose leadership? Is there no other system? Or do conferences post otherwise? Do conferences solve the problems of factions? Do BAGMs, conferences, weaken or strengthen factions? These are questions which we must pose to ourselves and analyze. If no, what must be done? By virtue of having a conference, does it tell you that you have a membership? No. No. ANC, look, is being voted by 11 million plus and over in past years. Should we not have a tightly knit nucleus movement where it makes sure that it services these millions? It gives priority to them more than the ANC card-carrying member. Should we not transform those who are ANC card-carrying members genuinely into proper cadres capable of servicing and maintaining those millions behind the ANC? To me, this is what we must seek for. This thing of going to conference, in fact, is a fake. There's no popular. We said, you elect? There's no leadership in the ANC which is being elected on popular. With that thing, I think the conference which did that was, to me, in Durban, our first conference. And the conference after that also in Bloemfontein. The conference in Mafeking, that conference, although of course popularity still was still dominant, but after that it was manipulation one way, not a wheel of branches. So to me, I think those are the questions which we should be posing to us and try to analyze. We must not be afraid of getting into them and see how will they tamper with the character of the ANC. Will they strengthen it or weaken it? If they weaken it, let's take the example of parties like the Communist Party of China, leading billions, but the party itself, its membership, it can be millions, but it's a drop in the ocean in that population, but it's in control in each and every province, in each and every state. I like Udeng. That's one of my outstanding leaders in the Chinese Revolution. When he says when you prioritize the party structure, prioritize it, making sure that you weed out all the chaff, all the corrupt. You live with quality. Even in your deployment in state, make sure that your leadership policy is based on quality, expertise, and education. That's what the Chinese had perfected after years. And it was a struggle, of course. We have to be faced with that. We have to do that. That's what is facing us. Well, ANC comrades will say, no, we're not a communist party. When they go, we know we're not a communist party. But the fact of the matter, we are a national liberation movement which combined social and economic aspects of the revolution. We talk about the socio-economic emancipation, and we define what we said, our liberation will be hollow without economic emancipation. We said that right back in 1969. Thank you.
Thanks, Eileen. And it's basically like you said, the task is to constantly analyze and review the organizational state. I think I will close it there for tonight because this is an ongoing discussion. It's a discussion that we can talk about for a very long time, beyond the time that we have to be discussing about it now. And I think it's a discussion that will be ongoing in our branch and also in other branches of the ANC, because it's a topic that affects all members and all branches of the ANC, and not only Ward 115 as in this case. So with those words, Cde Lerumo, I want to thank you once again for availing yourself to be with us tonight and to speak on this crucial matter that is affecting us all. We are, as you are aware, we'll also be having our own by-elections on the 9th of December. So such lessons and such discussions are of vital importance towards our branch, as tomorrow we'll be seeking to elect our own candidate who will be running for the position of councillor. So these topics are things that are very beneficial to the organization and specifically my branch as well. So thank you very much for taking your time, for being here with us tonight. And thank you to all the comrades who have been watching us on Facebook and who've been also interacting and sending messages on WhatsApp as well. Thank you, comrades. Cde Lerumo, thank you very much.
Thank you, comrades. Thank you very much.
We'll end it here. Mandla,
comrades.